deal with one chapter which has to be understood intelligently and which has to be taught also intelligently. Okay, and this is one topic where still is having a big question mark, like what is called as intelligence. Yes? Okay. So can I have the external mic please? The other mic. So what do you mean, what do you understand by the intelligence? What do you understand by the term intelligence? Any one of you? Please pass the mic.
Knowledge about what we know, how much we know, like that.
Okay. Knowledge about what we know and how much we know.
How we act in any situation.
How we act in any situation. Very good. Then? How you handle a situation. Yes. Then? Please.
Ability to think and resolve a certain problem according to our knowledge.
According to your knowledge. So what do you mean by knowledge then?
According to what we have learned.
What you have learned. Okay. So we got one term as learned. Okay. And ability to think. We got another term. Then
resolve the problems or tasks.
Solve the problem.
Do the task.
Yes? Okay. So we just have a small crowd here. You had different opinion about intelligence, right? So this is very clear that you don't have a proper definition as for intelligence. So intelligence is one such thing. It varies from every individual. No one single person you can claim that he is most intelligent. And you don't have that gradings, what is most, what is least, and what is moron, what's called as moron. That to some tests. Test in the sense not the physical test you don't open the brain and check what is there and what is not. You don't do that, right? We do some test which is basically maybe a pen and paper test, maybe a performance test, maybe a group test, or maybe an individual test. So you don't have one single test to come to a conclusion what intelligence means or what is the level of intelligence. Okay? So for a lot of psychologists, till date, they have lots of definitions. Many of them have their own views about intelligence. So today we are going to deal with this chapter, and we'll see what exactly intelligence means. And this is very important. When you are a preschool teacher, you need to know where you can place the child. Okay? You can't say, okay, this child is not intelligent. Maybe he would be intelligent in something else. Maybe not academically, right? So you need to know where exactly the intelligence lies. How you can classify them, or how you can consider them into the levels of intelligence. Okay? So what we are going to study today, these are the objectives, these are going to be the outcome of our today's class. What we are going to learn in this today's class is, what is intelligence? We will try to find out what is the definition of intelligence. Okay? Then, how to measure intelligence. How can you measure? Do you have a scale? Do you have something? So what are the scales? What are the measurement tools available to check the intelligence? We're going to check that also. Then how to differentiate children with respect to their intelligence level from their peers. Okay? Like maybe she is having one kind of intelligence level. She might not be good at some subjects, but she might be good at something else. But the same might be opposite in the other person. So how can you differentiate that? So we're going to study that today. Okay. Coming to definition of intelligence. This is really a very difficult task to define intelligence. That's why you have so many varied definitions. So we'll just throw some light on this now. So intelligence, what they say, it's not just being very smart. If a person is very smart, so usually intelligence, basically in a normal term, what we define as is the ability to reason out, is the ability to solve problems, like whatever situation you are, as she said, whatever situation you are, okay, how do you tactfully handle it, okay, and it's the ability to learn. Learning is always a continual process. It never stops till our last breath. Yes? Every day we learn new things. Every day we learn lots of things. Okay? So it never stops. So a normal term, intelligence is this. What? Ability to reason out, ability to solve problems, and ability to tactfully think, and learning process. Okay? A continual learning process. So we'll just see what they have written over there. So intelligence is not just being very smart, but has varied modules, which makes it one of the most difficult terms to describe in psychology. And so what makes a person to be tagged as intelligent? If a person is able to do all this, you can tag him as intelligent. Okay? So why they say man, even though an animal, he's an animal, right? So all of us are animal. So we all have the animal origin. Yes? But there is basically a lot of difference between an animal and a human being. That's why they say, don't behave like an animal. Why they say don't behave like an animal? Because animal, maybe it has some point of intelligence, but it's not that very intelligent. Its brain structure is not modified for that. They can't reason out, they can't think. If they see some prey, what they do? They don't think anything, they don't think twice, just go attack it and have it. Eat it, that's it. Yes? They don't have that reasoning capacity. But nowadays, if you see in lots of YouTube videos and all those, so animals also have become very tactful. Yes? Have you seen? Okay. So maybe that's because of the brain growth, brain modification, brain structure modification. But there's a huge difference between a human being and an animal. Human being, God has given us a wonderful gift where we can think. The brain, what He has given us. Okay? Now, so what all we can categorize into? Ability to use logical reasoning. Okay? What do you mean by logical reasoning? Ability to use logical reasoning. You've all been offered a job in a school. Okay? Maybe it's just next to your door. Yeah? So they may be offering some XYZ amount. So but there's another school which is an international school. Maybe they would be offering a little bit less, but it has the tag of international school. Okay? There, you logically reason out, okay, where should I go? What will be the best for me? If I go here, what would be my so that reasoning capacity is present only in the human brain. When it comes to the child, when it comes to reasoning, if he has some colorful toy, okay, he's going to reason out, why should I have this toy? But that reasoning capacity comes only after the age of 3 or so. Otherwise, they have preferences for all the colorful toys in the early age. Then they start reasoning, okay, why I need this toy? Because it has this, because it has that, because it has a motor in that, because it has a remote in that, so I can play with that, I'm not going to give it to somebody else. So that logical reasoning. Okay? If a person is able to do this logical reasoning, then he can be tagged as an intelligent person. Got it? You are understanding what I am telling? Then, ability to read, ability to read, write and speak clearly. So, descriptions in this. Some people may not be very good at reading. Some people may be good at writing, but you can't tag them as non-intelligent people. Okay? They might be good in something else. So that's why you have lots and ifs and buts in this intelligence definitions. Okay? So how can you tag something else? Yes? And speak clearly. So what they usually consider is, if they have a slurred speech, it's been tagged that they don't come under the normal intelligence category. Some speech problems. So they have seen that it is associated with some brain neuronal structure changes. So they don't consider it as a normal intelligent child. But maybe he might be able to do all the tasks what a normal child is doing. Clear? Okay. Next, behavior in social situations. when the child has been put in a social situation, how does he behave? How does he react to that situation? So in a school, whenever we are in a school, we are opt to have one kind of attitude. We can't behave in the same way how we behave at home, right? So you have to change your behavior. That adaptation, changing of behavior, if you are able to do it tactfully according to the situation, then that person is considered to be an intelligent person. If you are not doing that, for example, why a person is called as mad? Called as mad because his emotional balance is disturbed, that's one, and he does not properly react to the situation. He doesn't know what to speak, he doesn't know how to behave. Yes, he does all sorts of different activities what a normal person doesn't do. Can be anything. Okay? That's why they say his mental state, he is not mentally sound. Clear? Okay, that's the difference. Then, one's performance in the school. How as a teacher you're performing, or how as a child the child is performing in the school. Okay? Here you have lots of ups and downs. So you have lots of children with average. Most of them you find averagely intelligent children. Most of us. So only few exceptional cases you have highly intelligent. So few more cases those are little less than the average. Okay. So one's performance in the school also can come to a conclusion like how intelligent the person is. So how do we grade that? We'll see later. Okay. Then self-questioning about when you are wrong. So any kind of situation, you should be able to question out yourself whether I am doing a right thing or a wrong thing in this situation. So you should have that capacity to differentiate between what is right and what is wrong. Yes? So stealing is a wrong thing. Yes? So you should differentiate that no, I shouldn't do it. But that's a habit, that's a social stigma, what's there. But as an intelligent person, you should be able to differentiate, no, this is wrong, I should not do it. Maybe this can have bad effect later in my future. Okay, that differentiation should be present. So then the person can be tagged into an intelligent person. Then ability to think and visualize outcome. If I know the task, what would be the outcome? Okay. Now, if I am able to build a pink tower, and if I am able to mix up the pink tower and the brown stair and do some pattern, so madam is going to give me a reward. Yes? So the child thinks that and he does it perfectly. He can have lots of combination in that, and it does lots of experimentations where he can bring out different patterns using pink tower and broad stairs or brown stairs. So he can think and he visualizes the outcome. Okay, if I arrange it in this pattern, this could be the design, what I would get. So all this thinking and reasoning happens in your brain. Okay? Then, ability to solve problems, any kind of problems. So the child or a person should be able to solve the problems. So, this is again, what is intelligence? Intelligence, what they say, this is almost all the definitions. That was when you call a person as an intelligent person. Okay, this we are going to check what are the different, not definitions in the sense, what are the different statements where you can say that what is intelligence. So intelligence is a conscious process that humans use to explain different degrees of adaptive success in their behavior. So when you're writing an examination, okay, you can put it in your own words, but you should know the basics behind this. Clear? So what does that mean? It's a conscious process. You're not doing it when you're asleep, or you're not doing it in your subconscious mind. Okay? An unconscious person cannot do anything. That's right. Okay? So it's a conscious process that humans use to explain different degrees of adaptive success in their behavior. So they express that behavior like adaptation to the situation, how he is expressing it. So one situation when he is put in, Okay, so he has to tactfully think about that situation and he can come out of it. There are two different arenas in this. The person can go into entirely negativity or the person can come out positively. That depends on how the person is thinking. Any situation, whatever is put in. Okay, if he has been given the task of building a pink chart, if the child doesn't want to do it, oh, I can't do it negatively, so he is not going to do anything. Okay, when he has that positive thinking, he always mixes it and match, and what he thinks, okay, I can build this chart. Okay, earlier if he is not able to do the task, after repetitions, lots of repetitions, when he is able to achieve it, okay, he has learned how to come out of that situation. Which he was not able to do it, he is able to do it now successfully. Okay, that's so. What does those statement means? The mental abilities that enable one to adapt, to shape or select one's environment. Everything is here. All sara khichdi palav idhar pakka hai. Okay, so it's the mental ability to adapt, okay, shape or select one's environment where he wants to. Usually children, you know, they are very playful. They usually don't make choices that I want to be here. The school also, whatever school you put in, they say, okay, I'm fine with that. Until unless I get lots of activities and lots of play activities, I'm fine there. If you put in a school where they are giving lots of writing job, they'll be totally reluctant to go. Yes? Okay. Ability to judge, comprehend and reason. It's almost the same what I have explained now. Then ability to understand and deal with people, objects and symbols. So how we understand different people. This is a very difficult task. As an adult, you cannot judge people just looking at their faces. Yes? Okay, that requires more study. You need to have that face reading and all those things. Some people, they say how the person is exactly just looking at their face. Okay, this doesn't apply to the children. I'm just telling you in general. So how to deal with people, then deal with the objects and deal with the symbols. Symbols in the sense here, when it comes to the mathematic problems. Okay, plus, minus, multiplication, division, he should not get jumbled out, he should not get confused over there. Because mathematics is all based on that symbols, right? So one here and there, everything is gone. Okay. Ability to act purposefully, think rationally and deal effectively with the environment. Okay. So these all can be statements for intelligence. Now, can you see that? This is something just like your lateral, we are just viewing on the lateral side of your brain. So what researchers and psychologists and the psychiatrists and the neurosurgeons have come to a conclusion that these are the different areas of brain where the intelligence is processed. Okay? But what they say is usually, if you all know, you must all be knowing this, you have two areas in your brain. One is gray matter and the other is white matter. Okay? So the gray matter is the area, it represents almost all the bodily functions in the gray matter. And white matter is basically an association areas. Okay? All the association areas are in your white matter. So when it comes to intelligence, it's a mix-up of gray as well as the white matter. Even the white matter association neurons should be normal. Okay? And there is one more theory, what they say, like intelligent people have bigger brains. Okay? So that the studies are still going on, but they have definitely not come to a conclusion that there are bigger brains. Bigger brains can have intelligent people. No. It does not depend on the size of the brain. It depends on the neuronal structure. It depends how your brain is actually designed. Designed by God. Okay? Your gray matter, your white matter. So these are the different areas where you can see the representation of the intelligence. Intelligence matlab not only intelligence, whatever I have told you in the previous time now, everything. Thinking, reasoning, how to react to a situation, all those areas. Clear? Okay. So where are these located? It's located in the prefrontal cortex, that is behind the forehead. Okay. Prefrontal cortex, just behind here. And they always say, usually a right-handed person, the majority of the representation area is in your left. Okay. Then behind the ear, that's called as the temporal region. Okay, there's the temporal bone here, just behind your ear. Then parietal cortex, this is just on top of your ear. You have a parietal bone over here, just behind that. So these are the three areas basically represents the intelligence along with the white matter association neurons. Okay. This is scientifically, if you can remember, it's fine. Otherwise, you can just keep on. Then, the study provides new evidence that intelligence relies not on one brain region, but the entire brain as a whole. Here also, there are lots of ifs and buts, because this is one area. Psychology is actually one subject where you don't have a specific, yeah, this is it, means that's it. You don't have that specific definitions for psychology. Okay. So what they have seen is maybe the entire brain region involves in the intelligence process, but mainly these are the areas. Fine. Now coming to some of the theories of great psychologists on intelligence. Why do they call this theories? Because it's all theories, what they have studied, what they have done a research, and they've come to a conclusion, okay, this might be the definition of intelligence, or this might be the maybe the they're throwing a light on, okay, what is intelligence. They do the entire lifetime they are into this. Okay, so there are few of them. I've taken the definitions from. These are the few famous psychologists. According to Stern also was a psychologist. What he says, and these all, if you're writing the statement, it has to be in the same way. Okay. You cannot change the statement because it's his statement, not your statement. Fine. Intelligence is a general capacity of an individual consciously to adjust his thinking to new requirements. It is a general mental adaptability to new problems and conditions of life. This is what he thought. Okay. What he thought is a general capacity of an individual consciously to adjust his environment. We have discussed this, yeah. It's there. So I'll forward you this also. Maybe few points are missing in your notes. Lots of points are there. To adjust his thinking to new requirements, it is a general mental adaptability to new problems and conditions of life. So I don't want to repeat it again. I think you have understood that, right? Then there was one more person by name Thorndike. What he suggested was intelligence is the power of good responses from the point of view of truth or fact. What is truth or what is fact? What is existing? He focused on that. What is there? What is actually present? What is the fact? Okay, analyzing that, that was called as intelligence. Then there was one more person by name David Wessler. So what he said was, is the aggregate or global capacity of the individual to act purposefully, to think rationally, and to deal effectively with his environment. This person's, Wessler's statement was considered as one of the best, okay? And majority of the preschool scales, what we use to measure intelligence, is based on Wessler's scale. You have a lot of different people also, but Wessler's scale, they use it more frequently. Okay, now, I think you have all understood what is intelligence now. Yes? Now, we are going to see what are the concepts which are involved in intelligence and intelligence testing. So we are all saying intelligence, 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 right? So you must have heard something called as IQ. Have you all heard of the term IQ? Yeah? What is IQ? Intelligence quotient. Yes? Okay, how do you get this IQ? His IQ is not good. Yes? His IQ is very good. How can you measure that? What do you mean by that IQ, and how can you measure that? Any idea? Okay. So IQ is a statement, it's a problem which has been given like this. It's the mental age by chronological age into 100. Okay, IQ is nothing but is a mental age by chronological age into 100. This is how we calculate IQ. Okay, to calculate IQ also you require that mental age and you require that chronological age. So what is that mental age and what is that chronological age? What do you mean by mental age? Mental, something related to the brain. Yes? Okay. So how do you get that mental age? Mental age, to get that mental age, you have lots of different scales. As I told you, we use lots of different tests. Performance test, or individual test, or paper and pencil test, or verbal test. We have lots of different tests available in the market. So here, what we usually use in India is it has to be recommended by the ICMR. Okay, it's called as Indian Council for Medical Research. So there are some tests whenever you go to any, if you send a child, if you have a child in your class, if you want to know the IQ of that child, you're feeling that there is some problem with the child. You can't directly tell that there is a problem with the child until unless you have a proof. So what's the written proof? Because you can't just sign out and say, no, this child is having a problem, I'm seeing he's not doing his activity properly. No, that cannot be done. Otherwise they'll sue you. Okay? So what you can do is, you have to send him for an IQ test. IQ test can be done by any of the psychologists or the psychiatrists. Or they can send them to the best place they can. So there, they use their own scale. They will have their own pattern to test the mental age is nothing but to know what is the maturity. This can be done from the early age itself to any age. Okay? It can be done even from the age of 1 also. But they usually don't send at the age of 1, maybe 2 or 3 plus. They send because, you know, it's a developing brain, it's a growing brain. There will be a lot of changes in the brain structures, brain neurons. So you have to wait. If at all seriously, if there is a problem, some genetic defect or some birth defect, then you can send. If it's a normal child, it's just that he's trying to do his job, then just wait. Okay? So even when it comes to the early preschool child, you have lots of different later now. But here when we are taking this statement, you just know this. Mental age is to know what is the maturity of his brain, how his brain structures are functioning. Whether it is normal to that age or whether, for example, if you are conducting a test for a 10-year-old child. Okay? For a 10-year-old child, you will have a different test. You can even give a paper pencil test. But the paper pencil test cannot be given for a 3-year-old child. Paper pencil test can be given to only people who can know reading and writing. It cannot be given to people who do not know writing. For them you can give a performance test or a verbal test. So according to the candidate, they choose the test. Got it? All of you? Okay. They choose the test. They do all the investigations. All the tests will be performed by the person who is under observation, whose mental age has to be checked out. Okay, it will be done by them, and there will be some gradings for that test what he has performed. So it can be maybe he is able to do, not able to do partially. Okay, so there will be different gradings for that. So they will get the entire final score and come to a conclusion what is his mental age according to that age. So how do they get according to that age? They do it in lots of people. Randomly they pick people from different areas. Not from only Bangalore. Got it? Okay? Different places, different areas, they pick people and randomly they do a survey. They just give some general questionnaire. They just give some general thing to collect the data and to come to a conclusion what can be the mental age for that age group. So when the individual is checked for that age group, so he has been compared to the reference group. That's called as the reference group. Okay? The test, what you do it from a mass population, what result you are getting. That's the reference group. So they check the individual score with the reference group and come to a conclusion whether he is matching to that group or whether it is little less or whether it is more. Got it? Okay. That's how you get this mental age. Then you have something called as the chronological age. Chronological age is nothing but is the exact age in years, months, days and hours. At the time of the test, what is his age in years, months, dates and hours also. Clear? At the time of the test, because when you're doing the test, the timings, everything is mentioned over there. So that's the chronological age. So whatever mental age score you get, that's been divided by the chronological age. It has been put into 100. It's only for the percentage. Clear? That gives the IQ of that person. That's the intelligence quotient of that person. Let it be a child or let it be an adult. Got it? Okay? So this is the IQ test. See, they have given an example here. If a person's chronological age is around 7 years old, he is able to score satisfactorily on a test meant for a child with a chronological age of 10 years. Okay? There was a child of 7 years. He was able to complete the task which was fixed for a 10-year age-old group. So that means his mental age is matching to the 10-year age child. He is more intelligent. Got the point? Yeah? If the 7-year-old child, if his mental age, if he is able to perform the test, if it's matching a 3-year-old child or a 4-year-old child, that means his mental age is subnormal. It's below normal. Got it? All of you? This is an important one. So if you're not understood, please let me know. Understood? See, IQ, that is measuring the intelligence quotient. Okay? It's been given by this equation, which is mental age by chronological age into 100. So how do we get this mental age? You can't dig into your brain, check how much it is. That cannot be done. Okay? So it has to be done through some tests, some performance tests. There are lots of tests available. In the Indian community, they do it some in different way. When you go to the Western, they use lots of different scales. Maybe Stanford Binet or maybe Wessler's, okay? Maybe Thorndike's test, whatever is available, whatever is approved from their government, they do it. Clear? But ultimate aim is just to get the mental age. That's it. So, after performing all the investigations, all the tests, you have a reference range for that age group already done. So, when you check the mental age of that age group, for example, 8-year-old child, you're going to check with the reference group of the 8-year-old child. Okay? So, if it is matching that he is in the average, he is on the same age group, intelligently, his IQ is normal. If it is not matching, if it is just lower than that, that means his IQ is, he is of 8 years old, but his IQ is a 4-year-old child. That means his brain has not developed as it has to be. Got it? He is back. That's why this is slow learners. Got it? This chapter is very important when we'll discuss with the special need children also. So please make sure you understand. Then, if his IQ is matching the age group of around 11 or 12 years, that means his IQ is well above normal. You can give him more tasks. Okay? Because he'll be able to capture it. He'll be able to understand. Got it? Got it? Okay, that is IQ. It's mental age by chronological age into 100. So there is something called as the basal age also. So what does that basal age mean? So this is that age of a child with reference to his chronological age where he can solve all questions in a given test. Okay? And the basal age helps in calculating the mental age of a child. How does it help in calculating the mental age? So mental age is given by the basal age plus partial credit. Credit is nothing but they give a set of questions. When they check the mental age, they give a set of questions for that mental age which suits that mental age. Okay? When the child is able to solve all the problems successfully, okay, then with the partial credits, they have a credit system also for that. If he is able to solve 3 problems, they give 1 credit. If he is able to solve around 6 problems, they'll give 1 more credit. So plus the partial credits gives the mental age, basal age, sorry. Okay, basal age plus the partial credits will give the mental age. It's nothing but solving the problems which has been given to that age group with the partial credits when he successfully completes that problems. Got it? Okay. So this IQ was given by, first it was designed by Alfred Binet. He was the person who came with the IQ equation. Okay, Alfred Binet and Theophile Simon to determine the French school of children were too slow to benefit with the regular instruction. So this is how they came with this formula, that IQ is equal to mental age by chronological age into 100. So how did they come? How did they find out this? Because the place where they were working, they were saying that some children are performing the task much faster, some children are very slow. Okay, so why is this difference? So why is the difference? They did a lot of research and they came to this conclusion. Okay. So at any age, children who are average will have an IQ of around 100, because so on an average the IQ is 100. Let it be any age group. Okay. Normally, usually the IQ is between 85 to 115. When in the IQ scale, so the normally, averagely, most of the children fall under this category, between 85 to 115. Beyond 115, it's exceptional children, gifted children. So you must have read in the papers, a 4-year-old child or a 6-year-old child, he was able to complete the, I think he was able to do his master's problems or something. So that's all exceptional, gifted. Okay. And approximately 95% will score between 70 to 130. So now, measurement of intelligence. So how do they do it? As I told you, they have different tests, different ways to measure it. So first is the individual test and the group test. Individual test, when you are applying it to the individual. Okay. There is one more test where you apply it to the group. You have a group of people where you are applying that test, an IQ test, to check their mental age. Got it? So that's the individual test and the group test. There is one more classification which is based on the form, in which way you present the test. One is, it can be either verbal or language test. Okay, verbal or language test. So the test can be modified according to their mother tongue also. The way they are comfortable, the way they can understand. Our aim is what? To know what is their intelligence. So a person, if he is not literate in English, if you force him, if you ask him questions in English, he is definitely not going to answer. Then you will come to a wrong conclusion that his IQ is less. If he is comfortable with his mother tongue, go ahead with his mother tongue. Got it? Okay. Then non-verbal or non-language test. Non-verbal or non-language test. Here there are no verbal instructions. The child is given a task. He is just to complete the task. You are not giving any directions. It's non-verbal or non-language test. Clear? Then you have something called as a performance test. In the performance test, like you have given a task over there. Maybe the block building. See, what all equipments, manipulatives you see here, it can also give the measure of intelligence. So basically, what they use is all these things only to measure intelligence. Maybe the block building, or maybe puzzles, okay, or maybe cube construction, or maybe the picture completion. Whatever we apply in the kindergarten, whatever activities you do in kindergarten, it's almost all the tests what we use for checking their intelligence. There, you're just giving it like that. I mean, you're just making the child do it, but here we are measuring it. And you have different points for it. Got it? It's almost same manipulatives what we use to check the intelligence level. Okay, this is the Stanford Binet IQ test. Are you able to see? Yeah? Okay. So this test measures things that are necessary for the school success. So usually this is applied for the school age group children, and understanding and using language, memory, ability to follow instruction and computational skills. Stanford Binet test is used for that. And there's one more. Binet test is a set of age graded systems. Here you have they have graded tests for different age group. Stanford Binet test. Okay, so this will not be performed by you people, so you need not worry about all those things. It will be performed by a practitioner, a psychologist. So you should be a licensed practitioner. One second. अभी नहीं होगा ना. Focus. So these test items measure the person's mental level or mental age. I have to explain this now. Okay. So you have something called as the adaptive testing. So determine the age level of most advanced items that a child could consistently answer correctly. What does this mean? What does that mean? So you have to determine the age level of the most advanced items that a child could consistently answer correctly. For example, you are checking the mental age for a child of 6, but you are asking the questions of an high school graduate, high school student. What is going to answer? It's not going to answer anything, right? Age appropriate questions you are going to select. Right? Okay. Then children whose mental age equal their actual or chronological age were considered to be of regular intelligence. So their actual age, chronological age and the mental age, if it is matching, they say that they are of normal intelligence. Averagely most of them would be in the normal intelligence. Maybe some little bit higher, lower, so that varies. That even varies genetically also. There are a lot of factors which we'll discuss later now. Okay. These are some of the sample tests what they have given. We're just going to read it out. So name objects from memory. Complete analog is like fire is hot, ice is. So you should be able to answer that simple concept. Then identify objects of similar shape. Answer simple questions. Why do we have schools? These are all simple questions which the child is expected to be answered. He has to answer all these, right? So these are just the sample questions. I've just taken few of them. Clear? See, these are the things how we ask. These are the verbal ones. You're asking the question, the child is answering out. Clear? Then define simple words. Explain differences between a fish and a horse. So he should be able to define the difference between a fish and a horse. Normal intelligent child will definitely do it. Until and unless there is a problem, he will not be able to differentiate between a fish and a horse. Yes? Yes? If he is not able to differentiate between a fish and a horse, seriously there is a problem. Got it? Yeah? Maybe reluctantly he is not doing it, but give him more. If you are checking it today, you repeatedly do it a little later. Maybe give 2 or 3 days gap and recheck it again. Okay? Then identify missing parts of a picture, count out objects. These are all the simple tasks what you are going to give. This actually you can even perform in the school also. If you are finding that any child is not performing well, these simple things you can just chuck it out and test it with the child. You can definitely come to a conclusion, okay, there could be some problem. You can have that some problem, but you don't know what's the problem. If some problem, if you're able to find out, that's well and good. Then answer questions about a simple story, explain similarities and differences among objects, tell how to handle certain situations like finding a stray puppy, something, etc. like that. Okay? So when you are narrating a simple story, you should be able to answer the questions related to that story. Simple questions. Who was Rama and Sita after Ramayana? Okay, that was the usual question for us, but you usually don't give all this to the children. So whatever simple story you have narrated, should be able to answer questions related to that story. Okay, few more. Define more difficult words. Give explanations about why people should be quiet in a library. That's a place you should maintain silence. He should be able to give out the reasoning why they should be silent. So that means his brain is thinking, he's able to think rationally, okay, in different situations, how should I be? Like you are putting in a situation, yes? His behavior modification, so how he is in the classroom, he can't be like that in the library, right? So he should be able to reason out that. And list as many words as possible and repeat 6-digit numbers. Yeah? These are all to measure the normal intelligence. Then identify more difficult verbal and picture absurdities. Then repeat 5-digit numbers in reverse order. Define abstract words like sorrow. What do you mean by sorrow? Fill in a missing word in a sentence. These are all the different tasks what you give. So you can select according to the age group. You don't give so many tests so that they just bored out of it. Now all of you are getting bored. I can see that. Okay. Adults supply several missing words for incomplete sentences. Repeat 6-digit numbers in reverse order. Create a sentence using several unrelated words. Describe similarities between the concepts. So as an adult, you can supply the missing words in case if the child is not able to do it. So you can supply the missing words. You can give lots of words where you can just select and put into that, the right word. Okay. Then repeat 6-digit numbers in reverse order. Maybe you can do it once and let the child follow you again if he is not able to perform the task. Got it? Then create a sentence using several unrelated words. So you're going to create a sentence which are unrelated words. It's not related to the sentence. Maybe if you are having a story, it's not related to that. Some unrelated words you're just creating and saying to the child. Then describe similarities between concepts. Okay, this is one more. Usually when it comes to the preschool, they take preschool and the primary scale of intelligence. This is how we measure. I think we'll just take a break for 5 minutes, then I'll continue. Tata? Yeah. So girls, are you all here? Yeah? Okay. So shall we start? So now we'll start with Wessler's preschool and primary scale of intelligence. So these, as I told you, it's been designed by Wessler. He has designed this for preschool as well as primary school children. Okay? And here also I have not taken all the tests what they are performing. I'm just taking the preschool one, only selected ones what they usually apply to check the IQ test. Okay? So here this test is designed for children between the age group of 2 years and 6 months to 7 years and 3 months, and it was developed by him in 1967. This was the original test. Now you have a lot of different versions of this. The revised version. The now presently running is David Wessler's preschool scale of intelligence 3. Okay, the third version which is running now. This was the basic one. Okay, and this was published by Harcourt Assessment. There's an assessment company which they do it. Then this is the revised one. So the rights are with those people now. Okay, so what this does is this provides subtests and composite scores that represent intellectual function in verbal and performance cognitive domains, as well as providing a composite score that represents a child's general intellectual ability. Okay, you have lots of subtests in this. You have one main test, and in that you have a lot of subtests, and these subtests will represent the intellectual functioning in verbal, the way of communication in verbal and performance cognitive domains. What do you mean by cognition? Thinking and reasoning skills. Okay, here also they give a lot of tasks. What tasks they are giving, we'll check it out later now. Then and provide a composite score that represents a child's general intellectual ability. This is how they do the tests. I have explained this in the morning session. Okay. Now So some studies show that intelligence tests such as WPPSI, that is Wessler's Preschool and Primary Scale of Intelligence, okay, WPPSI 3, especially for the pre-kindergarten level, are unreliable, and their results vary widely, that is not widely, it is widely, with various factors such as retesting, practice, test administrator, time and place. Usually when you are posing a test to a preschool child, majority of the times it's not reliable. Okay, because preschool children, and that's where you do repeated tests. Just doing tests at once and coming to a conclusion, that's not happening. Because this depends on the child's mood. So how he is, what is he must be thinking of something else, and if you are just posing the test on him, he's not going to do it. That's one thing. And one more thing, because it's the growing stage of brain. Maybe he's not able to do the task now, maybe a month later, because there's a huge changes which takes place in the early childhood. Within the first 5 years of age, the brain neuronal development is at its peak. So that's how it's not that very reliable. So that's why they say any of the IQ tests to be administered after the age of 5. But in case if you want a pre-assessment, like in the preschool level itself, you have tests even for that. So we'll check it out. But the scores, they say, it varies. You can't take this as a solid or a concrete score. Got it? Why? The reliability varies. Maybe it depends even on the administrator also. The way you are administering the test. So you should have a lot of patience. You should be able to understand the child's psycho and give him the test according to that situation itself. You can't pose him the ones which he cannot do it. You can't impose him, no, you have to do it. He's not going to do it. It depends on the time and depends on the place also. Because children usually in this age, they're very comfortable with their mothers or with their known people. If you take him to some place where if it's an environment or a clinic environment, he'll not feel that very comfortable. So there might be some variations in the results. Got it? Okay. These are some of the subtests, and usually you have 14 subtests in this. In the WPPSI 3. Okay, in that you have 14 subtests. These are some of the ones which I have taken. So the first is a block design, where you have blocks like that. Can you see just on top of it, which is in blue and white? So while viewing a constructed model or a picture in a stimulus book, the child uses 1 or 2 color blocks to recreate the design within a specified time limit. So the child will be given a model this way. And he has been given with the blocks. So you should see that model and prepare that with the given blocks. Got it? And within a specified time, you should be able to complete that task. That is called as the block design. Clear? Then here information. For picture items, the child responds to a question by choosing a picture from 4 response options. So for verbal items, the child answers questions that addresses a broad range of general knowledge topics. For example, if you are using picture cards, okay, if you are using picture cards, we'll have those picture cards later again now. So if you are using the picture cards and you are giving the child the picture cards, you are having, you are going to give him the 4 question options. Maybe you are having a picture card of a rat, of a cat chasing a mouse. And you have 4 probable questions. The child should choose the best possible response. Maybe you would ask whether the mouse is behind the cat or cat is behind the mouse, who is running in the front, what is the color of the cat, what is the color of the mouse. Showing that picture, you are asking the question. So the child should be able to give a matching answer. Matching answer in the sense, whatever is there in the picture, you should be able to associate that. Got it? That is picture test. Then you have something called as matrix reasoning. Here, the child looks at an incomplete matrix and selects the missing portion from 4 or 5 responses provided to him. You have that matrix grid, you get that matrix grid, right? So there, you give a simple task to the child, and you will make it incomplete. That means you will just randomly pick few and keep it aside. And you will have some other options. The one which is matching also you will keep, and the one which is not matching also you will keep in the options which the child has to fix it back. So he has to choose the correct one and fix it in the place within a specified time. Everything within a specified time. Should not take a longer time than that. Got it? Then, vocabulary. For picture items, the child names pictures that are displayed in a stimulus book. You have a picture books, the normal picture books, what do you get? So, for verbal items, the child gives definitions for words that the examiner reads aloud. So, here, the child has been, and whatever you are showing, the child should already been exposed to that. He should know that. You're not going to introduce the one which he has not seen any time. Got the point? Yeah? Easy ones, whatever has already been taught, usually they take like that only. Usually they take the general ones, which the child will be able to comprehend. Then, picture concepts. The child is presented with 2 or 3 rows of pictures and chooses one picture from each row to form a group with a common characteristic. This we usually do, like the sorting activities and all those. So we have lots of pictures. So one will be the odd one out. The child has to pick the odd one out. The same. Got it? You have the symbol search. What does that symbol search mean? So the child scans a search group and indicates whether a target symbol matches any of the symbols in the search group. This we'll see in the picture later now. So you have a group of symbols which has been provided to the child, and you have the options. The child has to match that whether this symbol is matching with the one which has already been given there. That is symbol search. Then you have word reasoning. The child is asked to identify the common concept being described in a series of increasingly specific clues. So word reasoning, they just give the clues for that word. They don't give the word directly. Okay? If for example, if you want to give a clue for an apple, you know that thing which is very sweet, which you always love to eat, which is red in color. Yeah? So you give the associated sentences, associated things where the child has to come to a word. What is that? Then coding. The child copies symbols that are paired with simple geometric shapes. Using a key, the child draws each symbol in its corresponding shape. So here you're giving the child copies which is already paired with a simple geometric shape. Give a simple geometric shape, maybe a circle, maybe a triangle, maybe a rectangle, maybe a square. So you should be able to copy that. Got it? And the child draws each symbol corresponding to that. We'll see this. It comes in later in the pictures now. Then comprehension. The child answers questions based on his or her understanding of general principles and social situation. So here the child answers questions based on his or her understanding. Whatever he is able to grasp, whatever he is able to understand, you frame simple questions pertaining to that. He should come out with answers to that simple question. And these tests also, you can't give it, for example, if you're checking it for a 3-year-old age group, you can't give all these questions to him. You have to select which one the child might complete, because it's just said this question is, these design subtests are for 2 to 7-year age group. So you have to select according to the age group. Got it? Then picture completion. The child views a picture and then points to or names the important missing part in that picture. Picture completion, simple test. So whatever you give as an activity, whatever you teach, it's all used for the IQ. Now, similarities. The child is not read. The child needs to read an incomplete sentence containing two concepts that share a common characteristic. The child is asked to complete the sentence by providing a response that reflects the shared characteristic. So he has to come out with, there will be an incomplete sentence, he has to come out with the similarities, which is similar and which is not similar. What are the similarities between those two? It has to, for example, cat and the fish. Are there any similarities? No. There are no similarities. Cat and the horse. Are there any similarities? Four legs. An animal. Both are animals. Yeah? Okay. So he has to come out with the similarities. Clear? Then, receptive vocabulary. The child looks at a group of 4 pictures and points to the one the examiner names aloud. So, he'll be given with 4 pictures. Whatever the examiner is naming aloud, he is going to point to that picture, because you might be having 4 different pictures. If the examiner is naming forest, if you have a picture of a forest, the child should point out that that's the forest. Because there is reasoning, he knows, okay, what does a forest mean? How does it look? You have animals, you have lots of trees. Yeah? Okay. Then object assembly. Here, the child is presented with pieces of a puzzle in a standard arrangement and fits the pieces together to form a meaningful whole within 90 seconds. It will be assorted, he has to rejoin it back. Yeah? Then picture naming. For example, the one, he has to just rejoin it back. So, picture naming. The child names pictures that are displayed in a stimulus book. They'll be having a book. He has to name the pictures of each and every object which has been shown to him. It will be the common objects which the child has already come across. So now, after performing all these subtests, they do a scoring. Why did we do all these tests? To get a scoring out of it, right? So how do they do the scoring? So WPP SI3 provides verbal and performance IQ scores as well as the full scale IQ. You can have both verbal and the performance, because here you have verbal instructions also and the child is performing also, right? Both verbal and performance IQ metric. In addition, the processing speed quotient, known as the processing speed index on previous Wechsler scale, can be derived for children between the age group of 4 to 7.3, 7 years, 3 months. Okay. My laptop. Children in the 2 years, 6 months or 3 years, 11 months age band are administered only 5 of the subtests, that is receptive vocabulary, block design, information, object assembly and picture naming. As I told you, you're not going to give all the tests to all of them. You're going to be selective. For the age group between 2.6 to 3.11, you're going to give only these 5 tests. Which one are those? Receptive vocabulary, block design, information, object assembly and picture naming. Rest of them, you can use it for the 7-year age group. Yeah? Clear? This was the Wechsler's preschool and primary scale of intelligence 3. This is usually used in the Western. Okay. Here, when you go to if you have a chance to visit NIMHANS, or if you have a chance to visit any psychologist, so if you can just ask them, request them for the scoring, they'll give you. It will just be a written format. Okay. And that will be different, the one which I have told. But it will almost be similar, maybe not on the same scale, maybe not on the same grounds. It can be a little different. So once they do the scoring, so below 69, these are the scoring, these are the pre-recorded gradings. If it is below 69, when they check, if they're getting a score, if they're getting a mental age, IQ of 69, IQ, you know what is the equation? Mental age, psychological age into 100. Okay? So if it is below 69, they're termed as extremely low on IQ. 70 to 79 is borderline. This scoring also depends on the tests. This is for WPP SI3. The same numbers may not be for the other tests. Got it? On an average, as I told you, it is somewhere between 85 to 115 on an average IQ. So, and 70 to 79 is borderline, 80 to 89 is low average, 90 to 109 is average, 110 to 119 is high average, 120 to 129 is superior, 130 plus in this grading is very superior. That is highly intelligent, exceptional children, gifted children. Okay. Apart from this, you have another test which we usually perform for a preschool child, which is called as the COGAT test. COGAT test. What does that COGAT test mean? It's nothing but the cognitive assessment test. What is cognitive assessment? Here you are checking the thinking and the reasoning skills. COGAT test. So COGAT test appraises the level and pattern of cognitive development of students from kindergarten till the grade 12. These tests can be applied from the kindergarten level till the grade 12. Here I have just concentrated only on the kindergarten level. I have not gone to the other grades. Okay. The test measures both general and specific reasoning abilities. Both the general reasoning ability and specific reasoning ability. Why specifically? Pertaining to any situation. We are going to check out what are the tests which are available in this COGAT test now. Then these tests are assessed in 3 COGAT batteries, that is verbal, quantitative and non-verbal. Batteries in the sense 3 different areas. Okay. So one is verbal, quantitative and non-verbal. Quantitative, the quantity, how much he is able to associate, what is his reasoning, that one. Then each is represented by 2 or 3 different reasoning tasks. If he is able to come out with the conclusion, so 2 or 3 reasoning tasks also will be provided to the child. And it's like graded. Once he is able to perform one test successfully, he's been given a little, related to that itself, a little more higher test. But it is going to be related to the earlier one, previous one. Okay, a little bit complex. It is going to be simple, complex, that way, highly complex. Then this is a group test. This is not an individual test, but WPPSI is an individual test. There you are checking, you are giving it for an individual. But here it's a group test. You can give it for a group of children. And this test measures developed abilities, but not the innate abilities. It measures developed abilities, matlab whatever the child has developed, whatever he has learned, not the innate abilities. Innate abilities in the sense inborn, whatever he is already doing. So it does not measure the inborn ones. It only measures whatever he has learned. So these are some of the tests what we usually perform. This is for the cognitive analysis test, COGAT test. Here the teacher first shows the pictures, the teacher can read out, because since it's a verbal, you also use verbal as well as non-verbal. You're giving the children in a group to do it, and you can even give verbal instructions. So here the preschool child is going to instruct the child, preschool teacher is going to instruct the child. Yeah. These are all the simple ones. Once you go through this, you will know, okay, these are all there in the textbooks. It's there in his workbooks. Okay. So firstly, here, what we are going to do is, we are going to give one colored picture like this. You want to ask the child to draw a line connecting each blue figure without touching any other color. Okay, so the child should be able to understand what is the blue color. What color is called as the blue color? Which is it? He has to select that. And he has to connect all the blue colors without touching the others. Without touching the others, he should be able to differentiate what are the colors other than that. Got it? Yeah? Okay. So, he might go this way, he might go this way here, and again he might come back here, again he might go here. Or maybe, haphazardly, he would just go like this. Because we have told it should not touch any other color. If he is bisecting his color, that means he has not understood the concept. Got it? Maybe you can give another chance. As I told you, preschool children, no? So they're all small little monkeys. So you can give one more chance. Even if you are giving repeatedly 2 or 3 chances, if he is repeating the same, then it could be there could be some problem with his reasoning capacity. Got it? Yeah? Okay. Normal child will be able to do it easily. Next. Identifying lines. So you should identify which is a straight line, which is a curved line, and which is a straight and a curved line in the letters given below. So what is this? Straight line or a curved line? Straight line? Yeah, this is a straight line. What does this have? Straight and a curved line. So the child should be able to differentiate where is a straight line, where is a curved line, where is a straight and a curved line. What does this have? Curved line only, right? What does that have? Straight line. We are not bothered with the letters here. The child is not able to say that is T, that is U, no problem. We are only bothered that he should differentiate what is a straight line, what is a curved line. Clear? The same way you are going to give him the entire 3 rows. Next, look at each face above and then find its unfinished picture below. So use a pencil to draw in all the missing parts. Here, this is a little complex for the child. It's easy for us, right? It's a little complex for the child. Why? Both the pictures are same. It's square. Both the pictures have 2 rounds here. Both the pictures have a V. This is an inverted V. So what he has to do? He has to look at each face above and then find its unfinished picture below. Use a pencil to draw in all the missing parts. But here what has happened? This picture has come here. Yes? Usually normally what we do? We go to copy this one here. If he has not understood that, if he has not reasoned it out, if he has not thought about it. So he has to first look at the shape, which was a shape. He has to copy the same picture over here. Got it? So this is a little bit more complex. Got it? First was a simple, next step little complex, more complex. That's the Kogat test. So here he has to match this picture. He has to draw here. One more, and here the square should come here. Yes? Okay. This should be a round one. That means he has done it correctly. So then I am intelligent now. Yeah? Yes or no? Normal children will usually be able to do it. Maybe if he has got this task, he think, yeah, it's so easy. Why madam has given this? Check, check, check. They'll do. They wouldn't have seen that the shape. They would have differentiated the shape. Yeah? So you can give him another chance if he has done it wrong. Now the visual skills. Here we are checking the visual skills of the child. Whether his vision. Because see, for any perfect task, as you know, VAK modality is very, very necessary. It's compulsory. That is visual, auditory and kinesthetic. Until and unless your visual and auditory input and output are normal, can't do anything. Mixed up with the kinesthetic. Kinesthetic in the sense where you perform the task. Yes? So here we are measuring the visual skills. What are those? here you have to, the child has to match the figure in the top row to one of the figures in the bottom row. You have one figure over here, he has to match the same with the bottom one. But here what has happened is, in the top portion, it's the same simple blank A with one line. Right? But underneath what has happened? There's some extra reading there. So the child usually gets confused, like what is this? Where is this picture gone? Because in the top portion that is not there. Outline is not there. But here you have an outline. Right? But even then, if he is able to match, well and good. So where is the matching figure? Last. Okay, very good. So the same over here. So here again it has to match. But here the same problem. There's some extras over there. So the child usually gets confused. So visual skills, what happens in case if he is having a problem with his vision? So sometimes some children might have even diplopia, that is double vision, or in case if there is a strabismus. I think I have not taken those classes for you people still, right? So when I'll discuss about that, I'll let you know. Okay? So they get confused. Sometimes they'll have a double vision. Sometimes they can't visualize it properly. They see that's extra, so that's not matching. Here visual as well as the thinking skill. So this everybody knows, it's a sequencing. Here the child has to put the next picture. What comes next? Rabbit, carrot, rabbit, carrot, rabbit, carrot. Then butterfly, you have a frog, you have a bee, you have butterfly, frog, bee. Next what comes? But there is one more there. You have a ladybird also over there. So the child will get confused from where this has come. Yeah? So usually children get confused. In that age group, in case if they have some problems, issues with the intelligence, they definitely will get confused. Normal children, it's very easy. This all looks very easy because we're all having normal thing. But when it comes to a child, when he has to perform the task, it becomes difficult for the child. Got it? Okay. Next. Here. Reading skills. So before you give this, the child should have completed this reading task. He should be able to read. Should be able to identify the letters. Should be able to identify the sounds of letters. So here you have the fireman, fish and fox. All these start with the letter F. Yeah? Then begin with the same sound, in which thing below is the same sound found. Here you have a box, you have a feather, you have a socks. So the child has to say what sound is matching the one which you have, the pictures which you have given below. Box starts with the sound B. It's box, B for box. Socks starts with the sound S, socks. Feather starts with, so it's feather. So he has to match that. So before you administer this, make sure the child knows the sounds. Yes? Next, this is a little bit more complex one. Here it's called as the associative reasoning activities or associative reasoning skill. Associative reasoning, you are associating that thing to something else. I just told this before when I was speaking about the WPSSI also. So here, see, like I am down near the ground and I start with the T. I am a part of the food. Folks call me Piggy. What am I? It starts with a T. What starts with a T? What is there? I am near the ground. What is near the ground? Hey, I am a part of a foot. Toe. Teachers. Associative reasoning. So this is association. What starts with a T? Okay, toe starts with a T. It is a part of a foot. The child should know it's a part of a foot. Okay? call me Piggy. What am I? I am a Joe. Got it? So, starts with a T, it's a part of a food. The same way, I eat lots of grass and I start with C. Milk in your lunch. What's it? Cow. So, I'll begin with me. What is it? It's a cow. Here, the child knows that milk is, who gives the milk? Cow gives the milk. So, you should be able to associate that. And that starts with a letter C. That is called as associative reasoning. So, usually, if the child is having a normal intelligence, he'll have that associative reasoning skill. Okay, why is it so? Because it is like this. Because it's like this. Okay, this is the letter C. It starts with letter C. It moves. Even when you are giving a lot of tasks, you know, when you have your, they call it as riddles also, right? When in your textbooks you have a lot of worksheets like that. You don't directly tell what's the word. You give the task related to that, associated to that. So the child does a guesswork. Okay, what it is. Same thing it is. Here, you are measuring his higher mental abilities. Associative reasoning skill is one of the higher mental abilities. This you can give until and if the child knows about the cow and all, even 3-year-old child also can say it. You are reading it out. You are reading it out. The child is not reading this. You are reading. As I am reading, you are reading it out. Got it? You are reading it out. Then I start with T. That's my railroad. I may say chew, but I do not have a cold. Who is that? Train. The child knows that. It starts with a T. So what is that? That's a train. Yeah? Next, mathematics skills. So how to check his mathematics skills? Point to the picture that matches the distance. All these you will have in your worksheets, yes? The same task even you give as a homework, or the same task even in the school also you make the child perform. So here you have the child, you have given 4 options. But here there are 6 pictures. How many are there? 6 pictures but 4 options. 4 red roosters. Where are the 4 red roosters? The child should be able to point it out. I told you the picture pointing. You can use this also for the picture pointing. 4 red roosters. Where is it? Rooster, if he is not able to understand, you can even say chicken, anything, whatever the child understands. Then 4 yellow sheep. Here the child might get confused with this, because there is a yellow there even in the horse. Yeah? 4 yellow sheep. So he should know the number 1, 2, 3, 4. He should know what is a sheep, how a sheep looks, and he should know the color also. Even though this is a mathematics skill, so this also have this reasoning skills also. And 3 blue fish. You have 3 fishes here also, 3 fishes also. There you have all blue fishes, and here you have 2 blue fish and 1 red fish. So child has to differentiate that even though it's 3 in number, you have a different colored fish. They have asked me to point out only 3 blue fish. Yeah. Then 4 yellow horses. Same, you might not get the same one. You can even give the others which are available. Then tell how many blue boxes will fit in each red box. Here you give a set of boxes this way, and you ask the child to imagine and to tell how many of these blue boxes will fit into the red box. This gives his imaginative capacity. Imaginative as well as his thinking skills, as well as his reasoning skills, and as well as his calculative skills. Whether this will fit into this or not. If I put this box here, how much of space would be available here? There will be a space for another box. I can't fit in one more box here. So he should be able to answer 2. Same way here. The same, they have just reversed it. Okay, the direction. Here, how many boxes would fit? Should be able to accommodate those boxes. 2. Then here, what they have done is, if you can observe, they even changed the size of this, just to make it more confusing to the child. They have given a variation in the size also. So the child gets confused. So if he gets confused, then he'll reason out. Yeah? So this is one more task. He has to tell how many box would fit in this, how many blue box would fit in this red box. Next. There were this many fish inside my fish tank, but cat ate 2 fishes. Put into over 2 fishes. So how many fishes are left in the tank now? So the child will count and say 1, 2, 3, because cat ate 2 fishes. Yeah? So how many are remaining? He should be able to say that and circle it out over here. Same way here. There were this many dogs in our yard, but 4 dogs left. How many dogs are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 dogs left. 1, 2, 3, 4. So how many are left now? Only 1. A lone dog is left. So 1 he should be able to circle it out. Yeah? Very easy, right? But as I told you, if a person is having a problem, if a child is having a problem, it will be difficult for them. Then, draw a line segment to show how you would share half of the food in each picture. Here, the child should know the concept of half. What do you mean by half? Fraction. Half and a quarter, a full. So you should be able to know that concept. So you are giving this picture and asking the child to share this equally. To draw a line anywhere where it can be shared equally into 2. Where it can be divided equally into 2. If the child is putting a line here, it's wrong. Anywhere here, it's right. Here also it's right. Here also it's right. Here also it's right. Even here also it's wrong. Because it's not into equal halves. Any pattern he can put, but he has to make it into equal halves. Yeah? Same way here also. If he puts a line here, it's wrong. If he puts a line here, yeah, it's right. Yeah? He can, even some people will put a line like this. But that's not a line. Yeah? That is also 2. 2 are there here, 2 are there. Yeah? But it's not a line. Yeah? So he should share it equally and it has to be a line. Got it? Yeah. Can you find me? What is this? Here, again, it's mathematical reasoning. This is also a little bit difficult. This is the next complex one. Here, what they have given some statements. I am not red. The one which you have to find, that is not red. So that means this is ruled out. Yeah? I am not blue. That is also ruled out. But I have more sides than either of those 2. Red is ruled out, blue is ruled out. I have more sides. That has how many sides? 1, 2, 3, 4. This has how many sides? So it is this. Here it is a more complex one. The child first has to exclude this 2. He has to know which is having more sides. He should be having the concept, he should know the concept of sides, how many sides, and what you are asking, but I have more sides than the other one. So he has to circle it out that way. Got it? Yeah. So here you are giving him a number line and you are asking the child to say the number, which is whatever number I am pointing into, he has to just say the number on top of it. When you are pointing it on 5, he should say which is the number which is just on top of 5. 6. You can even ask which is the number just below 5. It's 4. Same way, point anywhere, you should be able to say that. Not the number which you are pointing. Because which you are pointing, he might concentrate here and he can say this number. You are asking which is above or which is below. You can even ask, to make it more complex, which is 2 numbers down, 2 numbers up, 3 numbers down, 3 numbers up. Got it? Making it more complex. So these are some of the few Kogat batteries, verbal, non-verbal, and as well as the performance. Quantitative, you're measuring it, how he is able to do it, okay? That was the Kogat test. Easy ones, right? When you can do it in the classroom, whatever workbooks, whatever textbooks, whatever picture books you have, you can use that and give it to the child in case if you're finding a problem, you can assess the child. Okay, now we have been dealing with the test. We have checked what is the IQ. We know a little bit about IQ, what about Wessler's preschool scale or the Kogat test. What is its reliability? How much can you rely on that? Well, how much can you say, that, okay, whatever I have done is the battery or is the test which can be taken for the measurement of IQ? There are no specific tests like that you have to do this test only to check out the IQ. Yeah? I think by this time it should be clear for you. And these tests, whatever test you administer, it depends on its reliability as well as validity. So any test whatsoever in any of the countries, whatever they use, they always check the reliable score and the valid score of it. This reliability and validity test will be done for whatever test they have already framed. That will be available already. Okay? So that's how even when you do this test, when you're applying it for a preschool child, you can't say it's 100% reliable, it's 100% valid. There'll always be a scale. They say it's 70% valid, 70% reliable. 30% you can't comment on that. Okay? So now, we are going to check its reliability and validity to know whether whatever test we have done, it's perfect or not. Okay. We'll check how stable is the IQ. Can IQ be stable? Because the child is in a growing age. Whatever IQ was there for his age group of a 7-year-old, when he comes to 10-year-old, the same IQ score, you can't keep it as a reference. Got the point? Yeah? IQ changes. It keeps on varying, it keeps on changing. That's how whenever you need an IQ of a person, it has to be done during that time, whenever he comes for the investigation. Then research suggests that intelligence is relatively stable from early childhood on, and IQ scores tend to be fairly stable. So IQ test at 4, at the age of 4 and a second, at 17 to 13 points up or down. This is the validity score. It can be either 17 to 13 points up or it can be down at the age of 4. When you are checking it at the age of 8, it can be 17 to 9 points up or down. You will have the earlier scores. The next score when you are checking, you want to check. You are going to always compare with the previous score. Got the point? So usually for a special child, it's always done. Every yearly they have an IQ test. It depends. Yearly once or 6 months once or 2 yearly once, they keep on doing it. Yeah? Then when you are doing an IQ test at the age of 12, the second at the age of second at 12, 7 points, 12 to 7 points up or down. And relatively what they say, by the age of say 18 to 20, the IQ is relatively stable. There will be no much variations in the IQ. But when it comes to the old age, when you do the IQ, it becomes slightly lesser than the one which was there in the earlier age. That's because of the aging process. Then, the closer together in time the IQ tests are given, the more consistent or stable the scores. Obviously, if you are giving the IQ test repeatedly, if you have done now, and if you are administering the same test 3 months later, there will be no much changes in the IQ score. It will be relatively stable. You don't have much up or down points. But the same score when you are doing it later, maybe after 2 or 3 years, there could be some variations in the score. Clear? Got it? What it is? Okay. Another question. Do test score really measure intelligence? What is this? We have been listening to Madam's class for the past 2 hours and she is asking whether it is level or not. Okay. So this is a question of validity. Does the test measure what it claims to measure? Because no single person has come with a solid conclusion or a solid test that this is a test for measuring IQ. Yeah? So even I can't say that, I'm really sorry. So whatever they have put forth, I've just given it across to you now. So most test developers argue that their tests are valid measures of intelligence by showing that test scores are related to children's grades in the school. That's why I said you have different kinds of tests, you have available in the market. Wherever you go to abroad also they follow a different ones. When you go to Bangalore they follow a different one. If you go to Delhi they follow a different one. Everywhere it's different. Ultimately our aim is only to find the IQ. That's it. Almost all will be on the similar grounds, but maybe the way they administer the test would be different. Yeah. So finally, coming to the factors that influence the intelligence. So what are the factors? The child's influence first and the foremost is the genetics. Genetics, why? Anything, if you have a special child, usually the first question what they ask, anybody in your family have this problem? Maybe not your immediate, maybe your forefathers, maybe somebody in the family. Grandfather, great-grandfather. If the great-grandfather is having, it might have transmitted to the child. Because it comes out through the generation, the DNA replication, the DNA multiplication. So genetic predisposition is having a strong foundation. They have seen a strong influence of genetics in this, in IQ. Then genotype, environment, interaction, gender also. Some people they say about the gender, but it's not proven because there are equal incidences in both male and female. There is no much gender variation over here. Then the immediate environment's influence. Here there is one more, the important one, it's not been mentioned. That's the during the birth delivery, during the birth process, during the delivery of the baby. In case if there is some infection to the mother during the early stages of pregnancy, in the first 3 months of pregnancy, there is something called as a torch infection, not the torch what it is. So it's just an abbreviation for rubella, cytomegalovirus and herpes zoster. Combined together it's called as torch infection. So there the female in the early 3 months of pregnancy she would have encountered with fever, high fever. So in case if she has high fever in the early 3 months, the incidence of the child becoming abnormal is more. It could be a special child, it could be a CP child, it could be a mentally retarded child. So there could be some problem with a slow learner. Depends on the severity again, depends on the genetics again. Everything depends, you know. It's not like you can say it's because of that only. And even sometimes because of forceps delivery. During the delivery process, if there is a forceps delivery or if there is a breech presentation. There's a breech presentation, you understand? So usually if it's a normal delivery, the head comes first. So breech presentation, the buttocks will be first, the bumps. Okay, the baby's bumps will be down, head will be on top. So there what happens, there will be oxygen supply will be deprived to the baby. Baby will not get enough of oxygen. First always the head should come out. In case if there is a breech presentation, they never go for the normal delivery. They always go for a C-section. Okay. So if there is a breech presentation but still you are forcefully trying out for a normal delivery, then also the child, there could be an insult to the brain and that can cause mental retardation. Okay. Apart from that, in case during the delivery process, if the umbilical cord winds round the neck of the baby, okay, that can cause it will not be normal. Yeah? All of you agree that, right? Yeah. Just pass on the mic to her.
During three months period, if any infection comes, baby will be abnormal, you are saying, no ma'am. Can we find out that one in the early stage itself?
That's why they do the scans, and usually...
Is there brain scan also? Is there?
No, they can't do the brain scan then.
Okay.
So they just do the ultrasonography to the mother. Okay, they ask the history first, in case if she is having any fever, if she had any fever, episode of fever. In case there is an episode of fever, they go for the further investigations. Blood investigations also they go, and they do a scan. So usually the first 3 months is the age where all the structures, bodily structures of the babies is formed. So ultrasonography also can only catch up with 80% of the abnormalities. Rest of the 20 to 30% you cannot find. It goes missing. Okay, you can't notice that. So in case if they are finding there is a problem, they'll ask for the MTP, that is medical termination of pregnancy. They go for an abortion, because it's better to abort the child instead of having an abnormal child. You know? It's like that. So, that's only with the history. You have to ask usually all the pregnant mothers, first and the foremost question what they ask is, did you have any fever? As soon as you go for a checkup. And they do an ultrasonography. That's compulsory in the first 3 months. Even at the completion of 3 months, they go for an ultrasonography just to check out this, whether there are any abnormalities. If it is so, they terminate it. Okay, there is also one which influences that, the intelligence. Okay. Then immediate environments influence, that is family environment and school environment. So this is a social issue. So family environment, maybe the child is normal in all the ways, but the family's atmosphere is not conducive for the child to bring out his talent or learn. Okay, so that's one thing. And the school environment, the child is not liking the school. You give lots of homework to him. How many of you give lots of homework? So the child is not willing to come to the school, even though his IQ is normal. Unwillingly, he is not performing the task because he is not liking it. That's it, the school environment. Then society's influence, poverty or race and ethnicity. Poverty, so IQ, maybe he is not having that environment to that exposure, or because of the poverty he is not having that chances to explore new things. That also influences the IQ. Yeah. Then race or ethnicity. Some races they say like tribal, but now even those people they have given a chance for them. So extremely tribal areas, their IQ they see that it's less. Like they are not exposed to this school environment or learning environment. They are into their own world. So they see that they don't accommodate, they don't adjust to this world. Okay? And some ethnicity. In some religion, for example, I'm sorry, so like some Muslim communities and all, purely they don't allow girls to study. Okay? So that's against their religion. Many religions are like that. So it's against. So ethnicity, they're not allowing, even though they are willing, they don't have that opportunity to go further. Yeah? So these are some of the factors which influence intelligence. Any doubts in this chapter? We're almost through with this chapter. There is multiple intelligence and creativity, which will be taken by Sadaf Madam later. So the basic about intelligence is this. And this is very much essential when I'll be taking with the special needs children. Special education. Yeah? So all of you are clear with this? Yeah? Okay. So thank you. Just there's one saying, you can just look at this. I was just seeing this yesterday. There was a message which was sent to me. I thought it should be given, conveyed to you people also. Yeah, this was a saying by Maria Montessori. What she said was, the hands are the instruments of man's intelligence. Obviously, right? So whatever you do it with your hands. So that is the instrument for a man's intelligence. And there was one more saying, an umbrella cannot stop rain. Have you read this? So, but makes you stand in rain. Confidence may not bring success, but gives power to face any challenges in life. So, whatever happens, be confident, yeah, wherever you go. So, thank you girls. You can have your lunch now. Then madam would continue the class.